Hello lovelies, Holly Hope here. We are diving into our crystal grid today for our transformational kit. So go ahead and grab your emotion empowerment box, and we're going to be going through a lot of things inside and going a little bit deeper into the crystals and the symbology that's there. Now, if you're new to crystal grids, the reason we do crystal grids is because we are tactile humans. We like visual things. We like hands-on reminders of the energetical and spiritual things. And by having a crystal grid, it allows us to anchor in that intention and the energy of transformation in a tactile 3D form. And you're also adding in extra energies and components to help amplify all that you're creating right now. Now remember, with these kits, we tune in to the highest negative emotion. And we talk about this in the other video, combating the emotion of scarcity that's been coming up for a lot of people right now. Or maybe you are getting this kit later and you're feeling scarce right now. And the kit always finds whoever it's supposed to find, whenever it's supposed to find. So we're going to be diving into understanding that transformational piece. These crystals will help to amplify and combat a lot of those wanting to withdraw and recede and pull in when it's a time of expansion and shift. And there's this balance that comes when you allow yourself to flow with both elements. So we're going to start with the grid itself. So this is my artwork. I love when I get to create these, and most of the time I don't even know what I'm painting until my brush hits the canvas. And there's symbols inside as well that you can't see as well in the painting because they are underneath the paint, but they're there. So we did some quantum light codes, which help to pull in the energy of that sun, that fire, that pure source of life and light that helps us all to even exist in the first place. And so remembering and anchoring back to when you're able to exist and be, and that life source that is thinking of you and sending energy to you constantly. Sometimes when we feel isolated and we want to retract, we start to dive into feeling alone. We start to find that we feel like we don't belong. And it's not about belonging. It's about being uniquely you, so you add beautiful light and flavor to our beautiful human experience. So thank you for playing with me. As we look at our grid, the big things that stand out are these two sparrows. And there's two because it's understanding that this is a matter of you and spirit, you and your divine creator, you and other people in your life that show up as angels to support you on your journey. So no journey is ever alone. Even when we physically may be alone, we're never alone. And the sparrow also represents endurance and freedom and rebirth. If you think of a sparrow, they are a migratory bird. So they leave their nest, they leave all of their comforts of normalcy, and they come back and they rebirth again and again and again. And I think of the birds that are here at my home in my little mini forest oasis in the desert. And I think of the hummingbirds that come back every year. And each time they come back, there's one nest above my carport on my lights, and I literally remove the nest every single year. And guess what? They come back to that same spot and they build again. And sometimes I wonder, oh, I feel so mean for even taking it away on the chance that maybe they'll find a new spot. But the beautiful thing is that that's when creation is at its best, is when everything's been removed. Those reference points are gone, but they still find an anchor. They still find the one truth that they know. So as you dive in and you look at this grid, I want you to anchor into, what is it that you do know? Do you know that you're loved? Do you know that you have a beautiful divine purpose, and it's not about being famous or flashing it in front of everybody? It's about being your unique essence, and there's no mistakes, and you're here for a reason, and all that you're shedding for a reason because you've outgrown it. We're going to move on to the moth. That's kind of in spirit in this one, not quite as bold because it's the subtlety of diving into that shadow, the subtlety of seeing what most people would overlook over and over and over again. So sometimes when we tell ourselves, oh, I feel so stuck because everybody else says this isn't a big deal and I should just get over it, but I have a hard time getting over it. Or why does this bug me and nobody else? That's because that's your purpose. That's yours to pay attention to so that you can transmute and heal it. The next thing we have here is the beautiful spiral. So the spiral is, once I asked Spirit, what is the meaning of life? And the answer, the spiral. So it is my favorite symbol, have it tattooed on my arm. The spiral is reminding us that everything we experience, no matter how big it is, we can always dial it down to one pinpoint, one program, one epigenetic DNA to reprogram, one moment, one trauma that we can always heal. And when we do, it allows our ability to expand exponentially. So, and I love that this looks like a shell as well, because even the tiniest, slowest beings that exist on this planet, the snail, still understand the value of the spiral and expansion and growth. Then we have our crescent moon. And this crescent moon, I set the intention that it's a waning crescent, which is the final steps to claim the fullest of all we want. So it's coming to the end of the journey, not the beginning, although you may be on the beginning and you can absolutely set the intention that yours is a waxing crescent, which is great. You can anchor into either intention for your crescent moon. Whatever is true for you is most important, because this is your empowerment box. It is your chance to empower yourself. Then we have the spiral of the cosmos, very similar to our spiral originating. So of course we have two spirals. This cosmic spiral is the energy and essence that burns and magnifies and creates worlds. Oh, so delicious. So that's where we're going to place a crystal for amplifying our creations, amplifying our sense of knowing, amplifying our protection as we expand and we spin. Then we have right here at the bottom, the pyramid with the eye inside. So this is a symbol in quantum light that I've taken some liberties to make extra pretty, and it's about perspective. So this is understanding as we move on that path of expansion, it's going this way. It's understanding the perspective that something needs to change, something needs to shift. Every negative emotion we feel is a call to shift something, to make a change so that we can have a different experience. All emotions are good and for our benefit. We just need to understand what the negative ones are that are letting us know of something out of alignment. And that's where perspective comes in. Understanding in hindsight. So many times we cycle through, again, all these circles. So many times we cycle through these rhythms and these loops and these programs, and we wonder, why am I back at the same point again? Why am I here again? That's because the transformation is calling you to move forward. It's calling you to anchor in that wisdom. And sometimes our human brains get really frustrated because they're like, I already learned this lesson, or I already did this. Sometimes it's just a matter to see how far you've come in your transformation journey. Sometimes it's a matter of understanding that you are moving forward. You're going to move through that same similar experience faster and with more wisdom. And sometimes it comes to us so that we can choose something different and prove to ourselves that we've learned the lesson. If you struggle with perhaps being in the same business loop or money loop or even relationship loop, and you're like, why do men always do this? Why do I always end up at this spot? Well, perhaps it's being illustrated to show you that you can choose different. And really all it takes is that little choosing different, just tweaking a little something, and it can blast through that transformational piece. And then at the bottom, we have our amplification of codes and geometry that go with all of the centers. So if you look closely, you can see that the sparrow's core, and it's intentionally at their sacral and their belly, because that's the giving and the receiving. That's where the eggs come out. If you want to think of these as eggs, that's great. It's connecting to, first there's light coming in, then there's perspective, then there's the dance of the cosmos and the moon's energy and that beautiful spiral of the sun. And all of these elements are interconnected. So just because you're on the perspective portion of your path does not mean it's any less important or that you're way behind because you're not up here spiraling yet. And spiraling is a good thing. It means movement, it means change. Stagnancy is where we get depressed. So understanding that it's all connected and all these elements are unifying to you for your growth and shift. So that is our beautiful grid of the cosmos and the sparrows. The very first crystal we're going to look at is your iolite. So this is the blue and white crystal that came in your kit. So the iolite activates your third eye. So it's going to help to offer that clarity, that wisdom. If you want to connect with it on a physical level, you can put it on your third eye itself while you do meditation. It also helps to heal a lot of the fatty deposits that we have in our body, the deposits that are holding that fear essence. Iolite also helps with, in shamanic practices, the outer body experiences. So this is one that's going to pull you out of your body and into the cosmos. It's going to help to send you outside of the normal, everyday stagnancy that you're in. It also helps with addictive cycles, so especially those thought addictions. So when you have those ruminatory thoughts that keep going over and over and over again, when you have those psychic attacks and you just don't know why, you keep doing the same things and you start moving forward for change, and then it gets hard and then you start to doubt yourself, Iolite's going to help to come and curb a lot of that. It is definitely a stone of connection, of reaching into the cosmos. It's adding positivity to your world. It stimulates inner knowing, and it helps to re-energize your auric field. So the space around you, sometimes we use a lot of energy and we're connecting with a lot of people and it can start to deplete us. This is one that's going to amplify and energize. And the place we're going to put that is right in the cosmic spiral, right in the center of our grid, because it is a stone that pulls us into the cosmos. It will amplify that energy of purging, clearing, circulating, unifying, and again, all to that inner knowing. So it's anchoring in the cosmos into yourself as well. The next one we have is our beautiful Lemurian quartz points. These are also considered a laser crystal as well. So I'll go over those just really briefly. So if you look closely at your crystal, this one has a lot of really good ones. See all those little marks on the inside? So in crystal healing, those are signifying wisdoms that are infused into the crystal. So you're pulling in wisdoms from deep within the earth, ancient knowing, ancient records into yourself on an energetic level. I just love this one. It's also going to help to offer clarity, focus, and also pinpoint and transmute. Now, make sure with this crystal that you're not pointing it at something that you don't want to add movement to. So, for example, if I were to point this right at a part of me, it's going to amplify whatever it's pointing to. So if I'm pointing it at something dark without using the intention of remove this dark and put in the light, like let's say I have some heavy grief in my heart, I can hold it on my heart and I could say, blast out this grief, but I need to put in that beautiful love and light. Otherwise it creates an emptiness because it will purge whatever it's pointed to. That's why we have it in the spire. So it's mostly about that clarity of knowing what your intention is when you use it rather than just pointing it at people and blasting stuff through. Because if you're thinking, oh, I need to blast out this scarcity, guess what? You are creating confusion and chaos because you're actually calling out scarcity, not calling out flow and abundance and receiving. So be very careful what you're focusing on. So wherever you are in your transformation journey, it's a really good idea to actually set the intention as you're setting your grid. What are you trying to transform to? Or what are you releasing? And maybe you don't know fully what you're transforming to. If we think of our butterfly, our beautiful butterfly earrings that came in your kit, if you think of the butterfly, I always wonder, does the caterpillar actually know it's becoming a butterfly? Or is it just like, you know what? We just need to wrap ourselves in this beautiful blanket right now. This feels really good and I don't really know what the end looks like. And it's okay. I mean, does the caterpillar actually know what they're going to end up as? Because if you think of how chubby a caterpillar is, it's complete metamorphosis, right? And I don't know about you, but if I were a caterpillar and you said that I was going to have these beautiful big silky wings and I was going to have this tiny little body and I was only going to drink sugars through a straw, I might not quite believe you. But I can surrender to changes coming. And even if I don't know the outcome, I can embrace that change. And so as you're setting this intention and you're focusing on that change, ask yourself, what is it that you're creating? What are you transforming to? Or what are you transforming away from? What are you surrendering to? Surrender is different from giving up. Giving up says, I'm throwing in the towel, I'm just gonna drown, I'm in this body of water and I don't know what to do. I just give up, let's start over. Surrender says that you're rolling over on your back and you're going to float and flow. And no matter where you float and flow, you remain in the same core essence, that same inner knowing. So for your crystal grid, you're going to place this crystal right on your spiral. pointing, well, it's pointing right at me right now, but pointing at the direction you want to go. I do recommend having it point to the north for direction, for the compass, for that mother energy to come in and anchor in that deep knowing, being held and cradled by the universe. Tektite is your black stone. And remember, this stone is the one that also goes inside your beautiful scarf by Marie Noor. And it'll slide right into the pocket. So I can just show you this really quick. So right here is your little pocket that she sewed in, and you just slide it right in there, hold it in the center, and then you can tie it onto your head, at the very top of your crown, or at the base of your neck. And the reason I love Tektite so much, it will help to realign any polarities that are reversed. So the chi that flows through your body, if it's spinning in the wrong direction and it's unraveling and not in a good way, it will help to cycle through and ravel and weave in back forward. Tektite is very similar to Moldavite. Those of you who got on the Moldavite trend and love that one, it's made from the same gases, from the same meteors. How amazing is that? So it is not of this world. It also has the ability to actually transmute negative energy, taking that negative dark shadow and turning it neutral so that it can become positive. A lot of our dark crystals that we use for protection will actually absorb and hold the dark energy, and then we place them in the sun and it cleans them. Tektite has the ability to do it all by itself, and so that's why we love it. We did a little piece just so that you can, with ease, have it in your headband, but you can also carry this around with you, and you can, of course, place it on your grid. So we are going to place this right on the eyeball of perspective on our grid. And the reason we're doing it there is because we want our perspective to be clear of any negative frequencies, any psychic attacks, any shadow or dark work that is not a matter of illuminating, but a matter of trying to confine us, trying to conform us, trying to control us. I can't think of a single person I know that hasn't at some point in their life been in a space where somebody else's perspective, somebody else's viewpoint of what they should be or shouldn't be, didn't influence them, didn't stop them, didn't hinder them from expanding and branching out. And so that's what that's going to help to clear. You're clearing the path. It's also at the bottom of your grid, because that's the first step in transformation, is to see that transformation is necessary and it's time to move it forward. I just love the stone. This stone is also a self-cleaning stone, so you don't have to cleanse it. It will do it all by itself. And so now that you've got your 3 placed, the next thing we're going to grab is our Mojo beans. So the Mojo wish beans, you have a whole bag of them. For right now, we're only going to use 7. So the rest of them you can absolutely place somewhere else in your home. You can carry them with you. You can use them in your moon ceremonies of intention. You can even burn them and send them to spirit with your intention. But we're going to use 7, and we're going to form these 7 into a circle around our grid. Just like that. Now you'll notice I do not have one in front of my crystal point because I want to free that energy to move out. So what we're doing is we're creating a bowl or a container with our grid, and then we're moving everything through to transformation, because transformation is a journey forward, right? It's starting at one anchor point. And then as you move forward, all the reference points, all of the old limits are shed from us, and we move towards that new version of us we're creating, even though we don't know what they look like yet. That's sometimes the scariest thing, but that's where the wish beans come into play. What they're going to do is they're going to help us to anchor into what it is our desire is. What is our wish? Now, I do recommend with each bean that you set an intention, and you may want to journal this down so you remember, or write it on a piece of paper and put it next to your grid. But I do recommend that with each one, you pay attention to an area of your life that you're calling in that wish. You're calling in that manifestation and that change. And I don't believe that a wish shared is going to not come true. Absolutely not. In fact, I believe it's the opposite. When we wish something and we share it, we just gave life to our wish. We just amplified it. And now the person that I share it with, they know my wish. And the shadow side of us says, oh, honey, don't share, because if it doesn't come true, you'll feel really bad and you'll be embarrassed and humiliated. And they're going to judge you and they're going to think, oh, see, she always dreams way too big. She's never going to do it. And the next time when you share a wish, they're not going to receive it and they're not going to hold space for it because last time you were wrong. That's not true. So cut that out right now. Sorry, Disney, but you kind of ruined it for us. A dream is a wish your heart makes, and you can tell it. And then everybody else's hearts agree with it, and they amplify the energy. So grab a piece of paper, and you can feel free to post a picture of your grid or send it to me and let me know what your wishes are. I will absolutely celebrate it. It won't bug me. I promise. I will actually hold space and send you light and energy around your wish. So with your wish beans, the 7 areas that I recommend is the first, the wish of self. Where do you wish your relationship with yourself gets to transform to? Doesn't matter how much we love ourselves or how much we accept ourselves, there's always room for expansion and growth. We can always go deeper. Maybe it's learning a new skill. Maybe it's learning a new modality. Maybe it's amplifying our ability to play and to be more lighthearted. Maybe it's our physical body and wanting to take better care of our physical body and give our body the nourishment and the love and the movement it needs. Whatever it is, what is your wish of self? The next one, your wish of your relationships. So whether that's love relationships or family relationships, what is the wish of your relationships and the way you connect? The next one is your success, your career, your mission, your purpose. What is your wish of your purpose? What is your wish of how you show up and give a gift to the world and receive energetic exchange and money exchange back in return? How does that look? Next is your wish of your connection with the divine, with your creator, with spirit, with your angels. What is your wish there? What is your wish that you want to amplify? Maybe it's a spiritual gift. Maybe you would love to have one of the free courses that I offer on enhancing your spiritual gifts. Let me know and I'm happy to send it to you. Think about what that wish is. What are you wanting to expand that way? The next one is your health. What's your wish of your physical body? What does your physical body wish for? Whether it's health, whether it's your environment, your 3D physical wish. Maybe it's I wish I had more plants in my house to talk to. What is your wish? Allowing that to come. The next one is your healing. What is your wish of healing? Whether that's your DNA, whether that's with your parents or your children, whether that's past hurts. What is your healing wish? What is the thing that if you could shed this limitation, your life would feel so much different? What's that wish? And the last one is your wish of bliss. What is the bliss that you want to feel? What is the joy? What is the experience? Maybe it's traveling somewhere. Call me. I love to travel. You all know this. Maybe it's diving into experiencing outdoors more, or maybe it's sunshine because it's been cold. Maybe your bliss is painting more or learning a new play form. Maybe your wish is to expand or create in some way. What's the playful bliss wish? The one that doesn't have to be logical. It doesn't have to make sense. It doesn't have to have a tangible reason that makes it okay to feel. What is that wish? So I invite you, as you place each of your wish beans down, that you set an intention of that wish and you're diving in and you're being connected with it. Now, with your surplus beans, you can do more wishes if you choose. I would recommend putting them on an outer ring around your grid because they're the extras. These are the core, and then you want everything outside of it. Or you could even do a wish for another person and you can leave them out in the world so that all of your magic and your wishes are spread everywhere, which I really love. Another thing I wanted to share is your beautiful tea. This is a great time when you're setting your grid, is a great time to utilize one of your lotus, the blue lotus teas. The blue lotus, oh, I love so much. I actually have a big blue lotus tattooed on my back with like 3 petals. It's gigantic. And it's funny, when the blue lotus started coming to me, I didn't even consciously call it in or wasn't even aware of it. I wanted to do a lotus because it's a symbol of compassion. And it's one of my favorite flowers because the lotus lives her entire life with pond scum. And I think a lot of us can relate to living our entire life surrounded by pond scum. And she still chooses to grow. Do you really think that that little seed at the bottom of the pond ever realizes how powerful the sun is? She knows of the sun. Do you really think that she knows and grasps the magnitude of what that sun is like? And as she's stretching through the water, getting bumped by fish and other plants, and what probably seems to be taking forever to get up to the surface of that water, do you really think that she thinks about giving up? And she thinks about, oh man, I don't know if I can do this. What if I don't make it? No, she just grows, because it's all she knows how to do is grow. And the more she grows, the more hard it gets. But then at some point, she pops the surface of the water, opens her petals, and takes her first breath and soaks in the light. And then from then on, she has perspective and she has vision and she can see what's possible. So then she feels instilled to create more. And that's when they spread. And here's another lotus in the mud. But she's up here saying, hey, come up here with me. And another one gets to come up. And pretty soon we have a whole pond covered in these beautiful, fragrant flowers. The blue lotus is also the symbol of Isis. And she's all about transformation, about letting things die and then reclaiming with pure light intention. And it's very interesting because when I got my lotus, it was because of compassion representing my middle daughter. And she is the epitome of compassion, will give everything and anything to anybody. And she doesn't like to hurt feelings. And she just loves so deeply, even at her own expense. But she still loves so deeply, even after she's hurt. And so I got that symbol to represent her, and her favorite color is blue, which is why it's a big blue lotus. And it's funny because as time went on, blue lotus kept showing up for me and up for me and up for me. And now it's an anchoring in of compassion. So as you drink your tea, I invite you, as you're setting this, to have grace and compassion for yourself, because we are humans. We are these beautiful light beings that came from timeless space to exist here and now for this experience. It's not about leaving this experience or belittling our human self. Because when we belittle our human selves, why would we want to grow through the mud? Because we're shrinking ourselves down. But instead, it's about understanding that we are an infinite being that's here for experience. Because floating around in the cosmos, we can't feel how beautiful it feels to be embraced by someone we love and feel that physical touch. We can't feel the beauty of going through the mud and breathing in that sun. We may see the sun all the time, but to experience the absolute missing out of it, the starvation for light, and then engulfing ourselves in light, oh, that is delicious. So if your human experience is having a hard time feeling that compassion and that softness, this is a really great time to start invoking that. I also want to highlight the room spray. Now, I am going to emphasize this is not for internal use, external use only, okay? Especially because we put blue kyanite in it and it will dissolve over time and you don't want to drink that in. The blue kyanite helps open up that throat chakra. It helps to activate your heart to come through and your mind to soften. So very powerful if you've been struggling with negative self-talk. And in it, it also has, I went over this in the other video, but I'll go over it very briefly. It has Palo Santo, which pulls in the light beings, helps to transmute any evil or darkness, helps to raise the vibration. It has sage for protection and cleansing. It also has witch hazel, which is one of my favorites. It not only keeps it fresh, but it also helps to purify and activate. It has blue tansy, which is like chamomile on steroids. So it pulls you into that heart center, pulls you into that softness and that sweetness. It also has magnolia, which is that another sweetness. Can you see how much softness and sweetness we have with this transformation? It doesn't have to be hard and ugly. That's why we have soft butterflies and we have soft scents. So that magnolia flower, for me, it helps me to invoke my ancient grandmothers. It just reminds me of that soft, knowing, blooming, and that sweetness. And it helps me to remind myself of my own sweetness, even when I'm shedding some really heavy, icky, dark things. And then it's also got lavender for soothing. So I recommend spraying this either before or just after setting your crystal grid. and then keeping it by your bedside. And at night, you can do kind of a spritz around yourself, or you can spray your pillow. Already I'm like, oh. You can spray it around your pillow and really anchor into that slumbering. It goes along with your beautiful eye mask. You can even spritz some on your eye mask. And your eye mask can be placed in your microwave for about 20 seconds, or your freezer if you're needing some coolness, and you can place it over your eyes, you can place it over your crown or the back of your neck, or another place on your body where you're feeling you need extra softness. Because when we have transformation coming through, it feels like a fiery purge, it feels like a furnace, it feels like Kali Ma coming in and just blasting things out. But then we have to remember that the reason we're cleaning house is to enjoy the sweetness and enjoy the softness. So I hope this kit helps to add more softness and sweetness in your world. I do want to share that with your room spray, once it's complete and it's empty, I recommend you either fill it with some other magical tincture or take out your crystals and place them on your grid as well. There's also peridot in here, which is also a heart opening and activator too. They're the little tiny green crystals in there. And those we wanted to be a little bit more subtle because we really wanted the heart to be active, but then we wanted the expression to be magnified. So I hope that this makes your transformation journey a little bit easier, a little bit softer. The most important thing with these kits isn't doing everything exactly to point, and if you feel called to shift your kit around or to add more crystals from previous kits, please do. They're created in this way to give you that creative liberty. Perhaps you have some sprigs of plants or flowers that are nearby and you want to add those around your grid. Of course, add the sweetness, add the nourishment, add the joy and the bliss. And remember that with anything, as you're shedding and growing, remember that you claiming it is the most important part. You stepping forward on that transformational journey is the greatest step you can take. And don't ever question, when you're in moments of darkness, choices and actions that you made, that you decided to move forward with when you were in the light. Because when the darkness comes in, when we're in that pond scum mud, it gets really hard. But when we know inside, our inner knowing says, hey, there's a lot of light at this end, then that's when we know we're on track. I love you. I'll see you in the next video.